Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello and welcome to Program Insight in B News English. Dear viewers, United Nations High Commission for Refugees is an important United Nations global body, and this body is responsible for looking after on the humanitarian angle, the people who are displaced due to the conflict, due to the wars. And as there is war in Iran, and there are, of course, attacks by the Israeli forces on Lebanon. What is the situation on ground? What United Nations High Commission for Refugees is doing? What is the initial estimates of displaced people? What are their problems? To discuss this all, we are fortunate to have with us the spokesman for United Nations High Commission for Refugees, a global body based in Geneva, its spokesman, Mr. Baloch, who, despite his very busy schedule, has spared time and participating in our program. Mr. Baloch, very warm welcome to Program Insight in V News English.
Thank you for having me. Many thanks.
And thank you to have you on our program. So I would like to begin on this prevailing crisis in the Middle East in the backdrop of this Iranian war. So please share with us what are the initial estimates of the people who have been displaced because Tehran is under massive bombing by Israel?
It's quite a complex picture, but what's visible is the impact, the humanitarian impact on civilians. It's not only Iran, as you're mentioning, the wider region is engulfed. And also what we are seeing inside Lebanon happening. So currently for inside Iran issues, we, UNHCR, my agency, the UN Refugee Agency is the largest UN entity on the ground. We have offices all across the country. We are in Tehran, we are in Mashhad, we are in Shiraz, Isfahan, with the border of Afghanistan as well. For inside the country, we yet do not have a number in terms of people being displaced, but as targets are being hit, strikes are happening, it is feared that that humanitarian picture inside the country would be very, very worrying, as we are seeing. Where we have concrete data is after the evacuation orders and the strikes in Lebanon. There, the government is telling us, according to their own statistics, they also have a data portal for their citizens to register being displaced. That number has now crossed 500,000. So we are talking about 517,000 people that are displaced, and many of them, around 100,000, are.
This is only in Lebanon.
This is only Lebanon. Those 100,000 out of this 517,000 are in nearly 700 collective shelters which are being run by the government. My agency, UNHCR, is on the ground. We have a presence there because of the Syrian refugees that Lebanon has been hosting. Let's not forget, I mean, Lebanon is a tiny country, and at some point it was hosting around 1 million Syrian refugees. So civilians are impacted, Syrian refugees are impacted, and also we are seeing another new number, which is Syrian refugees who are now returning to Syria because of the recent strikes and evacuation orders. That number is nearly 80,000, including some of the Lebanese as well.
What other amenities and facilities United Nations, this refugee agency is providing to displaced people?
So we as UNHCR, we have humanitarian supplies on the ground. You name it, tent, you name it, blankets, usual things that when you leave your house and home, once people are affected by conflict, that we would need to spend a night. We are hearing from our colleagues that many civilians are in their cars. They just don't know where to go. So spending nights even under the open sky in the nights, which at times these are families, kids, it gets quite cold as well. So we are rushing to support as many people as possible. We have reached with more than 65,000 relief items, but it's kind of a constant effort. Daily we have to adjust and support them, and also across the country into Syria. Remember, after the new government came into place in Syria, there have been millions of Syrians that have been returning to the neighboring countries. So we are also present there to help the people.
How big this challenge is to look after the refugees who are scattered across this Middle Eastern huge region. And to deal with these refugees, there must be ailing, sick people, elderly people. What sort of resources are required to meet this huge challenge?
Indeed. I mean, it was already a big challenge. Before this conflict started, intensified, escalated, and spilled over to other countries, the whole region. And now we are talking about Iran, we are talking about Turkey, we are talking about Lebanon, we are talking about Syria, but we are also talking about the neighboring countries. Look towards Afghanistan as well. So all this region or the sub-region was already having 25 million people that needed our support. This includes refugees, this includes internally displaced population, and this also includes former refugees that have recently returned. So what we as humanitarians, remember, we deal with the aftermath of conflict. When it happens, because it affects so many civilians, as in this case, in many countries. And that's our worry for the safety of civilians and how to support them. It's a big task. And that's why we keep reminding the world. Remember, when we were made, when UNHCR was created 75 years ago after the Second World War, the reason was the world wanted us to support displaced population and refugees. As a UN agency, we cannot do it. We have the skills, we have the know-how, we have the people to help, but we need resources to be able to help a population at this big scale.
Despite this global financial pressure, and of course, the countries which used to make significant contributions, they have also reduced. So how you see overall negative impact due to financial cuts on UNHCR and related agencies?
Last year, the year 2025 was a very tough year for humanitarians and also for displaced population across the world. Remember, at the end of the day, our support is for the displaced population across the globe. So services that we were providing to them were affected immensely. And that's why we try to keep remind the world, you withdraw funding, you cut funding, and then you forget if one conflict starts, and then it goes on, and then people think probably that has been resolved. No, that's not the case. Our eyes are on Iran and the region today, but Ukraine, the crisis in Ukraine has not gone away. The crisis in Sudan has not gone away. Look in Myanmar, that crisis is still there. Afghanistan, now nearly 50 years that people in Afghanistan have needed humanitarian support. That situation is still there. The list is long and long. So as the will to engage and kind of bring peace to these situations, we need that will. But also with that, you need to remember that one crisis, when it starts, we as humanitarians, we cannot stop working, and the other one which was already going on. So we need global solidarity and support to take care of these desperate populations. And we give big numbers, but at the end of the day, these are desperate civilians. As we are looking at this conflict right now, that civilians in so many locations are being impacted and affected.
Please give us some data details about these displaced people from Myanmar. So where they are currently residing and what sort of facilities are being provided by United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees.
Oh yeah, Myanmar. Remember, we already had Myanmar refugees, Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh, and then came 2017. In 2017, more than 750,000 Rohingya refugees were forced out of Myanmar to seek shelter in Bangladesh. And where they are, Bangladesh, as we all know, is a very populated country. It's a territory where people are residing. It's a dense population. So now we have around 1 million Rohingya refugees who are taking shelter in Cox's Bazar, close to the Myanmar border. But inside Myanmar, there is also a conflict going on, and that has affected more people inside Myanmar as well. So if you start picking the list of situations that we have to deal with as humanitarians, the list is quite long.
What is the rough estimate? What are your apprehensions where this displaced people, because people in large number are they're leaving big cities in Iran and moving to the safer places. So what possibly could be the places where they are moving, and what is UNHCR's role? As you mentioned, some of the Iranian cities, what is the situation? And of course, due to the continuous bombing, humanitarian operations must be facing hurdles and difficulties.
Oh, indeed. It's very difficult to operate inside Iran right now. Our worries are for the civilian, for refugee population. Let's not forget, Iran has 1.65 million Afghan refugees in the country. We are hearing about still, yes, it's the same, almost the same size as still you have inside Pakistan as well. We are hearing that mostly the people are inside the country, civilians who have been impacted and affected. So we haven't seen big numbers going to the borders or crossing borders going into other countries. But our fears persist that if this conflict goes on and on, who knows what happens tomorrow. But Afghan refugees who are inside the countries, they're anxious, they're panicked, they're very worried. For them, they probably don't have the network of support inside the country as others. So for them, what is the choice left? Let's not forget the situation for many in Afghanistan is not favorable for them to return. And if you are an Afghan who has a family with women and girls, let's think about, because in Iran, the profile of Afghan refugees was very urban. They had access to education, to healthcare, to urban centers. So you'll be very worried to returning to a situation where Afghanistan is currently right now. But if they have no other choice, maybe they will be forced and pressured to take that decision. And that's really a worrying situation.
So once peace, calm, and stability returns, do the refugees also return to their home country?
Indeed, it speaks for itself. And we quite often say when conditions are right for refugees in their own home countries, they vote with their feet. So in Syria, we have seen that millions have returned during last 1 year. During last 1 year, many Syrians have returned. Probably that's the only happy story of the year from 2025. But not only there. I mean, look at within the region, inside Pakistan, inside Afghanistan. Remember after the fall of the Taliban? We all remember, I mean, all of us, that we were covering the situation then, that within months, nearly 2 million Afghan refugees returned to Afghanistan. So when refugees think it's the right movement, that's another story. Taliban left, Taliban came back. There was the whole world to help Afghans. They left also. But the humanitarian situation there, when it's possible for refugees, and that's the point we want to press as a humanitarian organization, when a refugee think it's possible for them to go back, in dignity and in safety, they will do so. The point is, they should not be pressured into a situation where they are ending up into a situation of danger. And you asked, how long can we look after refugees? We have partnerships with countries, with local population in many places. Pakistan and Iran are two such examples. I mean, for last over 40 years, nearly 50 years now, that humanitarian partnership has been there. That humanitarian partnership is not only for refugees. If we look at Pakistan, remember the terrible earthquake in 2005. Mm-hmm. We, as the largest humanitarian organizations in the country, we mobilized, and I was part of the first teams on the third day that we went to take care of people that were affected. Then came the mega floods of 2010. After that, or even before that, you had the displacement situation in the north, and just recently in 2023, remember the terrible floods that we have had. So this is a humanitarian partnership that we build to take care of refugees, but also working closely with the local communities for their benefit too.
Whenever conflicts arises from Syria to many other countries in Africa, the stable or developed countries have not been open to accept refugees. They have been reluctant. They've been creating hurdles in accepting these refugees. Why there is so indifference on this issue, which is purely a humanitarian?
Well, and that's so true. And this is also worrying. But also people have to realize, and one fact which we are seeing now, which is very clear, anyone can be affected anywhere by a conflict. And now when you see the situation today, it's so true. And that's why we say civilian safety should be imperative. You know, all conflicting parties should make sure civilians anywhere should not be harmed or hurt. And that's why I say, when something like this happened, anyone can become refugee overnight. Remember, 2015, I was at the European borders when refugees were coming from Turkey to Europe, remember, through Greece. Then they were coming to many other locations. I was at the borders, many European borders. And then people thought these are refugees from far. But Germany set a great example by accepting them, and then Ukraine happened overnight. So that's very much inside Europe, and that situation is still there. And same is true that anyone can become a refugee. And for that purposes, the world after the Second World War, through the United Nations mechanism, came together and said we need to find a way to support populations and civilians wherever they are affected. This is enshrined in international law. This is enshrined in many countries' own legal mechanism. The issue is it should be applied in a way that it provides the safety that civilians need anywhere, irrespective of their background or where they're coming from.
What are the major donors for United Nations human rights? United Nations, this High Commissioner for Refugees, and other than states and the governments, do you receive funds or donations from philanthropists as well?
Indeed, the top contributions come from the government. There are many. It's a very, very long list in that sense. US used to be one of the top. There are many others. EU as a bloc, there are many countries. Also, now we see in the Middle East, we were also seeing, but also there are individuals, there are businesses also that are coming forward. Because remember, this is a shared responsibility, and this is what we keep repeating. But everyone can contribute. It's not only a government that has to pass a budget to contribute to a displacement of a refugee situation. Even individuals come forward and supports us. And that's the case. Businesses, individuals, not only money. there are other ways as well. Businesses help us to employ or train refugees and local populations. We have a very good example in Pakistan, where we have a partnership to solarize local hospitals. That has happened, and this is thanks to our private supporters that have come forward. There are many such examples. The bottom line is we can step forward to support humanity. The will and desire has to be there, and this cannot be only one country's issue. And this is what we have been highlighting when it comes to a big host like Pakistan, like Iran, many other places, that it's not only that country's responsibility to take care of world's refugees, it's a global issue, and that's why we need global solidarity for this.
So how you see, as a spokesperson, Pakistani concerns? As I said, this agency and Pakistan had been in talks. Pakistan did convey its security concerns to UNHCR while sending number of refugees back to Afghanistan.
Oh, we have an amazing partnership in that sense. We have mechanisms over 4 decades in terms of how we have kind of worked. It's a humanitarian partnership. Remember, it's not a banking transaction. It is a long-standing tradition that we have worked together. And then I think we have to do a reality check when we try to equate crime rate and refugee issues. You see, you have laws. So if someone who is involved in criminal activities, they can be treated in accordance with the national laws. No one is above. Yes, no one is above the law. The problem is when politics come into play, and that's what we have seen. Refugees. Civilian population who have nothing to do with local authorities anywhere, they should not be affected by change of policy anywhere. This is what we saw, remember, in the last government that we had in Afghanistan with the current authorities also. This is not Afghan's fault at all, and this is what the dialogue is going on. So yes, we have also here in Geneva our new High Commissioner has met the Pakistani permanent representative just recently. We have kind of said our partnership is there. We are there to strengthen it. But also when it comes to refugee returns, and during the last year, there were 3 million Afghans that were either pushed or pressured from Pakistan and Iran, also majority from Iran, but many from Pakistan too. Remember, I was saying earlier, a refugee, when they think it's time for them to return home, they will. It has to be in a dignified manner. It has to be in safety and knowing the situation on the ground. Many Afghans who are inside Pakistan right now, they would have fears to return.
So finally, I would like to seek your comment in the time to come, how you see UNHCR's growing role amid tensions, amid pressures, financial pressures, and things like that. So do you think that in the time to come there will be more conflicts in the world, and accordingly UNHCR roles would be very, very critical again in addressing the people who are affected due to these conflicts?
We have been around for 75 years now. The idea was we would deal with those who were
75
exactly
years
75. Yeah. So the idea was that once we are done dealing with those who were affected by the Second World War, maybe this body, this UN agency, UNHCR, would not be needed. Then came the Hungarian crisis. I mean, then things just went on and on. It has been non-stop. So many conflicts. And when the problem is when a conflict starts, its impact and effect on people is so much. One, peace is very hard to be found. In some cases, the world is able, but then the conflicts drag on and on. So then everyone says, oh, this situation has been around for too long. And then the world forgets the people who were affected are still there. or we're still there. So till more conflicts happen, and we have to realize, what war
UNHCR
does,
will
what
remain there.
conflict, what conflict does. It makes people refugees. You don't have a choice as a refugee. You have to run to save your life.
What is the overall budget and what are the current financial challenges? If it is possible to answer, it would be very informative. What is the whole budget and what are the financial challenges UNHCR is facing?
Financial challenges are huge. I would look into the total number of the budget and I can convey it to you. But the financial challenges that we have are huge. Many times the resources we need are not there. Remember the way we kind of tell the world what we need to help these displaced population. They give some, but it's never what we require. And as you and I were talking last year, our operations were really, really badly affected. And that impact goes on to the refugees and displaced population all around the world.
Thank you so much indeed, Mr. Babar Baloch, spokesman for United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees based in Geneva, for sparing time and making this conversation extremely insightful on prevailing conflict in the Middle East in the context of Iranian war and displaced people due to conflict and instability and continuous Israeli airstrikes on Lebanon and Iran and elsewhere in the world. What is the situation and the status of refugees? Very, very insightful conversation. Despite your very busy schedule, you spared time and participated in our program Insight. Dear viewers, till our next episode, goodbye and Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you very much.